I will start my reading practice from the book Magic Words. Many things obviously contribute to a hit book's success. The topic has to be interesting, the characters have to be engaging, and the plot has to be good. But what makes a plot well good? The emotional trajectories we talked about in chapter 5 provide some insight, but there is more than just that going on. Reviewers of books such as The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo often use the same phrase. The story moved quickly, it was gripping, and the plot never dragged. It moved fast and kept me engaged. Indeed, people often mention a fast moving plot as part of why they liked what they read. But what does it mean for a plot to be fast moving? And is it always better for a plot to move quickly? To answer this question, we first need to understand the relationship or similarity between words. Which is the most similar to a grapefruit, a kiwi, an orange, or a tiger? This seems like an easy question to answer, and if you don't, you are a person or at least a person over the age of 3, the answer is pretty obvious. It's an orange. But to judge the similarity of thousands of words and do so quickly, you need a computer, and it turns out that questions like this can be surprisingly difficult for computers to answer right. Machine learning is based on the notion that computers can learn from data. They can take available information, identify patterns, and even make decisions, all with minimal or even no human intervention. Think about Amazon or Netflix recommendations. They are not made by people else who scout the web for information. They are made by machines. Algorithms look at what you have viewed or purchased and what others have viewed or purchased and use the data to make an educated guess about what else you might like. Recently bought a shirt for work or a coffee maker in for the kitchen. Amazon might suggest similar shirts or new kitchen gadgets that other people who bought these products tend to like. Recently watched The Bourne Identity. Netflix might suggest a James Bond movie or some other action film. To make such suggestions particularly accurate ones, the algorithm has to observe relationship. People who bought X tend to like Y. So if you bought X, Y is probably a decent suggestion. Autocomplete or predictive text on your phone works similarly. Type the letter D and your phone might suggest the word do. Accept or write that word and it might then suggest a series of words such as we need more and milk. The algorithm uses the words and phrases you and others have written to make educated guesses about what you want to say. Unlike recommendations, though, deciding whether a kiwi or an orange is more similar to a grapefruit can be tough for a computer because their relationships are not easy to observe. People don't buy grapefruit on Amazon, and although they buy them at supermarket, that data would not be that useful either. Some people buy grapefruits, some buy kiwis, and some buy oranges, but buying patterns don't provide much insight into the similarities between the items. People who buy grapefruits may also buy bread, fish, or any number of other things. So, the fact that things are frequently bought together doesn't mean much. In fact, grapefruit might often be purchased with cottage cheese, but the two are not that similar. But while purchase data are not that helpful for inferring similarity between objects, everyday language data are. Each day, billions of people write trillions of words on the internet. News articles are written, online reviews are posted, and information is updated. Each article or review might not seem that important by itself, but together they provide a comprehensive view of the relationship between various concepts and ideas. Take a sentence such as the doctor came into the operating room and put on gloves. On the surface, it might seem simple, but to a computer trying to learn the relationship between different words and concepts, it provides many beneficial crumbs of information. It suggests that something called a doctor goes into something called an operating room and puts on something called gloves. similar to the approach we used to identify song themes. Looking across many sentences that use similar words starts to provide a sense of how different words, concepts, or ideas relate. If doctors are often going into and out of operating rooms using gloves or talking to patients, one can start to get a sense of what a doctor is and does. That is how children learn. The first time a 15-month-old sees you point to a thing in the middle of your face and say nose, she has no idea what you are talking about. To her, a nose is just as novel and foreign as democracy or anti-establishmentarianism, but by repeatedly hearing you say nose as you point to yours, hers, or a picture of one in a book, she eventually learns that what a nose is. Machines learn the same way by ingesting all the articles on Wikipedia, for example, or everything that appears on Google News. Computers can start to learn what different words mean and how they are related. If dogs are often talked about being friendly, for example, readers and machines may start to associate those two concepts and treat them as more related. Similarly, if cats are often talked about as aloof, it can strengthen the link between those two concepts. Words don't even have to co occur for these links to form. If phrases such as dogs are animals and animals are friendly both appear often enough, the computer associates dog and friendly, even if dogs are not often explicitly talked about as friendly. The British linguist J.R. Firth once noted, "You shall know a word by the company it keeps." Said another way, you can learn a lot about what words mean and the relationships among them by looking at the context they show up in and the words that surround them. Just as we infer that people who hang out together frequently are more likely to be friends, words that show up near one another are more likely to be connected in some way. Building on this idea, a technique called word embedding uses the relationship among words to plot them on a multi-dimensional space. When moving into a new house or apartment and putting things away in the kitchen, people tend to put related things together. The spoons go into the silverware drawer, the vegetables go into the fridge, and the cleaning chemicals go under the sink. Words embedding does something similar with words. The more related words are to one another, the closer together they are positioned. The words dog and cat are probably pretty close together. For example, because they are both animals and pets, but based on their association, the word dog might be closer to the word friendly, whereas the word cat would be closer to the word aloof. Rather than using just two or three dimensions, this technique often uses hundreds of dimensions. And because related words appear closer together, the similarity between words can be measured by the distance between them. The word grapefruit, for example, is closer to the word orange than it is to kiwi, indicating that they are more similar. And all of these fruit words, not surprisingly, are pretty far from the word tiger. Plot the right progression. Word embeddings are remarkable, and as we will talk about in the last chapter, they can be used to study everything from gender bias and racism to the evolution of thought. But to study whether books and movies are more successful when the plot moves faster, some colleagues and I decided to apply the same underlying idea to larger chunks of text, sentences, or paragraphs. Just as two words can be more or less similar or related to each other, two parts of a book, movie, or any other piece of content can also be more or less similar. To understand how this works, think about an earth science textbook one might have studied in high school. There are chapters on the Earth's crust, earthquakes, weather, and even the solar system. Take the first part of any chapter, say on earthquake, and it's quite related to the next part of that chapter. The chapter might start by defining an earthquake and then move to what causes one, both of which involve similar words, phrases, and concepts, that is, earthquake, fault, and plate tectonics. But while consecutive parts of a chapter are quite similar, the farther apart two parts of a textbook are, the less related they tend to be. The earthquake chapter, for example, uses very different concepts, terms, and ideas than the chapter on solar system does. The same idea can be applied to novels, movies, or any other text. A scene about a wedding, for example, is probably pretty similar to another scene about that same wedding. The characters are the same, the setting is the same, and people are likely doing related things. That wedding scene, however, is probably less similar to a scene about an alien invasion, scuba diving, or fixing a car. Even if the people involved were the same, the places, items, and things involved would be quite different. Importantly, though, consecutive pieces of a book or movie are usually at least somewhat related. How related they are can vary, they might be quite similar or more different. By measuring the distance between consecutive pieces of a story, we determined how quickly it was moving. If a story jumped from talking about the first part of a wedding to talking about an alien invasion, for example, the plot moved faster than a story that went from the first part of a wedding to the second, just as one car is going faster than another if it travels a greater distance in the same amount of time. Stories move faster when they jump between less related ideas. Then, to examine the relationship between speed and success, we analyzed tens of thousands of books, movies, and TV shows. Everything from classics by Charles Dickens and Jack Kerouac to more recent books such as High Fidelity by Nick Hornby and Safe Harbor by Daniel Steele, as well as movies such as Star Wars and Pulp Fiction, and shows such as I Love Lucy, South Park, and Friday Night Lights. Overall, we found that speed was good. Books, movies, and TV shows with faster plot progression were liked more than their slower moving counterparts. Just as a typical lyrics make songs more interesting to listen to, a faster plot progression makes a story more stimulating rather than just plodding along. Moving faster between more differentiated topics and ideas is more exciting, which leads audiences to react more favorably. In addition, we found that within stories, there were times when plots should move faster and times when they should move more slowly. At the beginning of a book or movie, the canvas is blank. An audience doesn't know who the characters are, what the setting is, or how everything relates. So, the beginning of a story sets the stage, building a base or jumping off point for the rest of the narrative. Starting slowly is the key. It takes time for the audience members to digest the characters, their relationships, and everything else. So, a plot that moves too quickly at the outset may confuse them. In a relay race, if the second runner dashes off too quickly, the first runner may never be able to catch up and hand off the baton. The same goes for a story. If the plot moves too fast right off the bat, the audience may get left in the dust. And that was exactly what we found early on. Speed was detrimental. Audiences reacted more favorably to stories that moved more slowly initially. Indeed, rather than moving quickly, famous folk tales and children's stories often start by repeating a similar concept. In The Three Little Pigs, for example, the first pig builds his house of straw and the wolf blows it down. Then something very similar happens to a second pig. The same goes for jokes. Comedy often follows a rule of three or comic triple in which similar things happen to multiple people. A priest walks into a bar and something happens. Then a nun walks into a bar and the same thing happens. But once similarity has helped lay the groundwork, the story must advance. If the exact same thing happened to a third pig or a rabbi who walked into the bar, the story or joke would quickly get boring. So, although similarity helps set the stage and build expectations, Once the audience has met the characters and understand the context, it's time for things to pick up. Indeed, as stories advance, the effect of speed reverses. Though audiences liked stories that moved slowly initially, eventually a faster plot progression was preferred. So much so that toward the end of stories, those that moved faster were liked more. The Thank you. That's it for the day.